What do you hear when a human being realizes they're about to die? Tokyo is a city of neon and noise, a place where millions pass each other without seeing, without knowing. But beneath its glittering surface, in the spaces between alleyways and the silence of abandoned buildings, there are rooms where the worst of humanity festers. This is not a ghost story. This is not folklore. The Red Room exists, and if I listen closely, past the hum of the city, past the rush of trains and the murmur of crowds, I can almost hear the screams. They called me Subject 37 in the files. But my real name is Kenji Sato, a salaryman, a father, a man who kissed his daughter goodbye one morning, stepped onto the 7:15 a.m. train, and vanished before the doors closed. I woke up in the Red Room. The walls were slick, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood. A single flickering bulb swung overhead, casting shadows that moved like living things. My wrists were bound with zip ties. My mouth tasted of gasoline and fear. And then the voice. "Welcome," it said, smooth as a razor. "Let's see how long you last." The rules of the game were simple. No one comes for you. My family would be told I died in an accident. My body would never be found. Pain is inevitable, but how much I endure is up to me. There is a way out, but no one has ever taken it. My breath came in ragged gasps. My fingers brushed something cold on the floor. A scalpel. Was it a tool? A test? Or just another kind of torture? The door creaked open. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. A figure stepped into the light white coat, gloved hands, a face hidden behind a surgical mask. "Let's begin," said the doctor. And then, I screamed. But the Red Room wasn't done with me yet, because the worst part wasn't the pain. It was the moment I realized I wasn't alone. How long can a person scream before their voice gives out? My screams had dissolved into whimpers. My body was a map of pain. Jagged lines, split skin, the sour stench of sweat and blood. The Red Room didn't just break bones. It broke minds. And then the whispers started. From the walls, from the ceiling, from the darkness just beyond the door. "You're still alive?" A laugh wet and guttural. Most begged to die by now. My vision blurred. My fingers twitched around the scalpel. Was this hell? No. Hell had rules. A rusted grate in the floor slid open. A hand, small, trembling, streaked with dirt and dried blood, reached up. Then a face. A child. No older than my daughter. "Help me," she mouthed, her voice stolen by fear. My heart shattered, because I knew. The Red Room didn't just take adults. A scuttling noise. A flicker of movement. A rat, fat, greasy, eyes gleaming, crawled from the shadows. It sniffed the air. Then it lunged. Not at me, at the girl. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. She just held out her hand. The rat bit down. I watched in horror as she didn't react. How long had she been here? What had they done to her? The speakers crackled. "You're wondering about her," the voice purred. "Let's just say, children are resilient. They last longer." My stomach churned. The girl met my eyes, and for the first time she spoke. "Don't trust the doctor," she whispered. "He lies." Then, a door slammed. Footsteps. The doctor was coming. My fingers tightened around the scalpel. I could fight and die quickly. I could run and die slowly. Or I could try to save the girl and die hopelessly. Her eyes locked onto mine. "Please," she breathed. And in that moment I made my choice. Because the worst truth of the Red Room wasn't the torture. It was the game. And I had just become a player. What does a human being become when hope is carved out of them? The door groaned open. White coat. Gloved hands. A face hidden behind a mask, this time smeared red. The doctor stepped inside, his shoes clicking against the concrete. He didn't look at me. He looked at the girl. "You've been talking," he said, voice soft. "That's against the rules." The child flinched. My grip on the scalpel turned bone-white. The doctor knelt, tilting her chin up. "Tell him," he murmured. "Tell him how long you've been here." Her lips trembled. "Touch 3 weeks," she whispered. My breath stopped. 3 weeks in hell. 3 weeks of this. Then the doctor smiled behind his mask. Wrong, he said. It's been 2 months. The girl's face emptied. Because she believed him. Time doesn't work here, the doctor said, stroking her hair. We remove it. Like a tumor. He turned to me. You think it's Tuesday? It's Friday. You think you've been here an hour? Try 6. A laugh. You don't even know your own daughter's face anymore. I lunged. The doctor dodged. The scalpel clattered to the floor. He sighed. Disappointing. Then he snapped his fingers. 2 figures dragged in a third. A woman. My wife. Alive. Barely. Choose, the doctor said. Who dies first? The girl's voice, barely audible, reached me. The vents. My eyes flickered upward. A rusted vent cover. Loose screws. Because the Red Room's worst secret wasn't the torture. It was the escape. And the doctor wanted us to take it. What happens when the only way out is another kind of hell? My bleeding fingers pried at the rusted vent cover. 1 screw left. Behind me, my wife sobbed into her bound hands. The girl watched, hollow-eyed, as the doctor's laughter echoed through the speakers. Hurry, she whispered, before he comes back. The last screw hit the floor with a ping. Darkness yawned beyond the vent, narrow, reeking of iron and rot. I turned to my wife. Go, I urged. She hesitated. Then the vent growled. Something moved in the blackness. Not rats. Not animals. Fingers. Too long, too thin. Slithered out like spider legs, brushing her ankle. She screamed. I yanked her back as the thing in the vent hissed. A voice, wet and broken, dribbled from the darkness. No one leaves. The door burst open. The doctor clapped, slow and mocking. Oh, Kenji, he sighed. Did you really think we wouldn't guard the vents? He crouched beside the girl, tilting her face toward the vent. Tell him what's in there, he murmured. Her lips trembled. The ones who tried to escape, she whispered. They're still alive. Mostly. The doctor stood, brushing dust from his coat. This room isn't for torture, he said. It's for selection. He tapped the vent. The strong go deeper. The weak become part of the system. A wet chuckle rattled from the vent. My wife vomited. The girl shut her eyes. And the doctor smiled. Your turn, Kenji. Will you crawl? Enter the vent, and join the things that used to be human. Stay and watch my wife and the girl suffer. Attack the doctor and die fast. I looked at my wife, at the girl, then at the scalpel still glinting on the floor. I made my choice, because the doctor wanted me to fight. And the vent wasn't the worst thing in the Red Room. The worst thing was the door at the end of it. How much of yourself would you sacrifice to survive another 5 minutes? My fingers twitched near the scalpel. The doctor sighed, disappointed. Still choosing violence? He clicked his tongue. I expected more from you, Kenji. A snap of his fingers. The vent cover slammed shut, severing a finger from one of the things still reaching out. Fell to the floor, twitching. The girl didn't scream. She was past that now. The doctor crouched eye level with me. Let's try this again, he murmured. You have 3 options. He held up 3 gloved fingers. 1. You take the scalpel and kill your wife. Fast. Clean. She won't suffer. My breath stuttered. 2. You kill the girl. She's already broken. It would be mercy. The girl flinched. 3. His eyes gleamed. You step through that door. A heavy click echoed through the room. A door, thick steel, stained with handprints, swung open behind him. Darkness pulsed from within. My wife grabbed my wrist. Don't, she begged. Whatever's in there. It's worse than dying. The doctor laughed. Oh, it is. But here's the fun part you don't get to pick. The girl does. He tossed a rusted key at her feet. Choose, little ghost. Who goes in? The girl stared at the key, then at me, then at my wife. A tear cut through the grime on her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. She picked up the key and pointed it at my wife. I roared, lunging. The doctor tossed me in the throat. As I convulsed on the floor, I watched them drag my wife toward the door. Her screams didn't sound human anymore. The girl covered her ears. The door slammed shut. Silence. Then, a wet, crunching sound from the other side. The doctor sighed, pleased. Ah, right on time. He knelt beside me, whispering, "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about torture. It's about witnessing. About seeing how far love will go before it snaps." He stood, adjusting his gloves. "Your wife lasted 4 seconds before she begged to trade places with the girl." A pause. Pathetic, because the door wasn't the end. It was the beginning, and I was next. What's left of a person when their soul has been chewed up and spit back out. My body had gone numb. My wife's screams still echoed in my skull, but the room was horribly quiet now. The girl sat curled in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees, rocking slightly. The doctor hummed as he wiped his gloves clean. Then, a knock from inside the door. The door creaked open. A shadow spilled out, too long, too wrong. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light. Then it stepped forward. My wife's face, stretched, split at the seams, her mouth sewn into a permanent scream. Her fingers twisted like broken tree branches, nails replaced with rusted hooks. But her eyes, those were still hers, and they were terrified. The girl scrambled back, a soundless scream tearing from her throat. The doctor laughed. "Oh, don't be rude. She's still family." The thing that was once my wife tilted its head. Then it spoke. Kenji, not a voice. A sound forced through broken vocal cords. I vomited. The doctor patted the creature's shoulder. "Beautiful work, isn't it? The human body is so malleable under the right pressure." He turned to me. "This is what love looks like when it's stretched to its limit. She held on to you so tightly, even when the pain started." Pathetic. The creature whimpered. I screamed. A blur of movement. The girl lunged, snatching the scalpel from the floor, and plunged it into the doctor's thigh. He roared, backhanding her so hard she crashed into the wall. But it was enough. The creature that was once my wife snapped its head toward the doctor, and smiled. Hooks dug into his shoulders. He shrieked as she yanked him close, her sewn-shut mouth ripping open with a wet tear. The girl crawled to me, her voice barely audible. "Run." But I couldn't move. I could only watch as the thing that wore my wife's face bit into the doctor's throat. Because the Red Room wasn't done with us yet. And the real monster wasn't the creature. It was the man who built the door. What happens when the monster I've been running from is the one I created? The doctor's screams had faded. What was left of him twitched on the floor, his throat a ruined mess of teeth marks and torn flesh. The creature, the thing that had once been my wife, stood over him, its hooked fingers dripping. Then it turned to me and whimpered. It wasn't a sound of hunger. It was a sound of recognition. My heart shattered. The girl grabbed my arm, her voice raw, broken. "You don't remember me," she whispered. "But I remember you." I froze. 3 years ago. The alley behind the bar. The man you hit with your car. The one you left to die. A pause. He was my father. My breath stopped, because suddenly, I remembered. Her eyes burned. "This was never about torture," she hissed. "It was about justice." The doctor? He was just another victim. Like me. Like her. She pointed at the creature. "The Red Room finds the guilty, the selfish, the ones who think they can take and never pay." A wet, clicking noise echoed from the hallway. More doors were opening. She pressed something into my hand. The scalpel. "You can die here," she said, "or you can walk out that door. But if you leave, you become one of them. One of the things that hunts the guilty." She nodded to my wife's twisted form. "She chose to stay, to wait for you." I looked at my wife's ruined face, her human eyes, and I understood. I dropped the scalpel. I took her hooked hand, and together, we walked into the dark. The girl watched us go. Then she turned to the camera hidden in the corner. "Who's next?" she whispered. The screen went black. This was a work of fiction. But somewhere in Tokyo, in the silence between heartbeats, the Red Room is waiting, and it remembers every sin. Subscribe to the Veil of Secrets for more nightmares that cling to your soul long after the last page turns. Shocking reveal, I deserve this. The girl's revenge? Chilling. Moral ambiguity, was this justice? Or just another kind of hell? My wife's fate, her choice to stay destroyed me. And that open-ended terror, her whisper of who's next, makes you wonder if it could be you. Want more stories that crawl under your skin? Subscribe to the Veil of Secrets, where the worst monsters wear human faces. Turn the lights off. See if you can sleep now.